Once upon a time on a mountaintop, three little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars and said,
I want to hold treasure. I want to be covered in gold and filled with precious stones. I'll be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world.
The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling on its way to the ocean.
I want to travel the mighty waters and carrying powerful kings. I'll be the strongest ship in the world.
The third little tree looked down into the valley below where busy men and women worked in a busy town.
I don't want to live the mountaintop at all. I want to grow so tall that when people stop to look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world.
Years passed. The rain came, the sun shone, and the little trees grew tall. One day, a woodcutter climbed the mountain.
The woodcutter looked at the first tree and said,
This tree is beautiful. It's perfect for me.
with the swoop of his shining axe, the first tree fell.
It's a beautiful treasure chest. I shall hold wonderful treasures.
The first tree said.
And then the woodcutter looked at the second tree and said,
This tree is strong. It's perfect for me.
with the swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell.
Now I shall travel mighty waters.
Thought the second tree.
I shall be a strong ship for the mighty kings.
The third tree felt her heart sink when the woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven.
Any tree will do for me. It's perfect for
He muttered, and with the swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell.
The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought her into a carpenter shop, but the carpenter fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold nor with treasure. She was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals.
The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took her to a shipyard, but no mighty sailing ship was made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. She was too small and too weak to sail on an ocean or even a river. Instead, she was taken to a little lake.
The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in the lumber yard.
What happened? All I ever wanted was to stay on the mountaintop and point to God.
Many days and nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as a young woman placed her newborn baby into the feed box.
I wish I could make a cradle for him.
Her husband whispered, and an angel and three wise men came to worship Jesus. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood.
God, my Savior, has done a great thing for me. Praise the magnificent name of the Lord.
And suddenly the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world.
One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into the old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out into the lake. Soon a thundering and a thrashing storm arose. The little tree shattered. She knew she did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain.
Jesus, don't you care if we drown?
He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples,
Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?
they were terrified and asked each other.
Who is this? Even the winds and waves obey him.
The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun. And suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth.
One Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from a forgotten woodpile.
Crucify him!
Crucify him!
She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when a soldier nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel.
Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It is finished.
But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. Jesus had resurrected with victory over death.
I am the resurrection and life, and whoever believes in me, though he die, he shall live, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die.
And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God's love shown on the cross. That was better than being the tallest tree in the world.
Just like these three trees, we are excited for Christmas for what we want. However, Christmas is when Jesus Christ came to the world to save us.
Jesus Christ is our greatest gift of God on Christmas. And God sometimes does not change our lives the way we want, but his way is higher and perfect. He leads us to the best way that we can glorify him.
Let us worship our precious treasure, the King of Kings, and our Savior, Jesus Christ, today. Joy to the world.
Merry Christmas!